All right. Holy shit. Hopping right into this, of course. Welcome to the Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Carlito Santiago, and today we are going to look at what went down on Friday Night SmackDown. The show opened with a recap of Cody Rhodes winning back the WWE Championship for the third time. Drew McIntyre last week. We then saw McIntyre storming through the crowd with a microphone as he ranted about Nick Aldis screwing him over by giving Rhodes a title shot. Get the fuck out of here. Even though, in their contract agreement, that Rhodes would not get a title match as long as McIntyre is champion. But Nick Aldis rewrote the rules, apparently. So, oh god. Aldis came out and said McIntyre has nobody to blame but himself for losing the title. They argued about what was fair, and McIntyre got right in his face and demanded that he make this right. But then Jacob Fatu's music hit, and he came down to remind McIntyre that he wouldn't have even won the title if it hadn't been for him, so getting involved last week was just making things right. McIntyre said he quit and left through the crowd. The segment ended with Aldis and Fatu watching him leave. It felt like Fatu versus McIntyre is a setup for Mania, but a fatal four-way for the WWE title is a possibility. Time will tell. So you know what? Let's just add that as a possibility for WrestleMania. Why don't we, right? So I think it's fair to be on the safer side of things, right? Just in case, might as well add it, okay? And because we get something that happens a little bit later that insinuates this setup. So let's just save that for right now. As far as I know, the World Championship matches are already set in stone. B-. They need to end this fucking feud, guys. I'm sorry, moving on, but they really have to end this feud. They really do. The MFTs and the Wyatt Six, like, they really need to end this feud. It's crossing over into so many different, like, I don't know, there's so many different things. So WWE held another match in a seemingly, I don't even want to fucking read that word. Okay. It's a never-ending feud between the MFTs and, of course, the Wyatt Six this week. But the combination of competitors didn't feel as worn out as the feud. Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga took on Uncle Howdy and Eric Rowan. But both teams had their whole stables in their corners, as though this match was originally advertised to include Tama Tonga instead of Tala. But Tama Tonga was required to to make sure that they escaped with the lantern. The two giants got the match started with some shoulder tackles. It didn't take long for Sikoa and Howdy to take over. It's gotten to the point where this feud has overstayed its welcome, and then some. It feels like WWE has no idea what to do with any of these guys once it's over, so it keeps stretching it out. Even though the one part of them have the tag team titles, so focus on the tag team division. God damn it, Jesus fucking Christ. End this shit already. This bout didn't add anything interesting to the story, and followed a very predictable pattern. It wasn't bad, but it turned into a huge brawl at the end, which was the most predictable thing about it. Nikki Cross was able to take the lantern and distract Sikoa long enough for Uncle Howdy to hit the finisher, and of course, get the lantern back and secure the win. But then Tama Tonga, remember his job is to make sure they escape with the lantern, and he did just that. He took out Howdy, stole the lantern back, and ended the segment. So this is just a never-ending feud. Might as well say a never-ending story that's just never going to end until Sikoa and Howdy have another one-on-one match, or they have a whole fucking brawl, and they have a, ladder match with the lantern hanging from above. Graded a C, and I'm going to give it a C- if they continue to keep doing this. Trick Williams had a confrontation with Fatu backstage that led Aldis to booking them later tonight. Wait until we get to that. Jade Cargill take on Michin, and the fact that we have our women's world champion not getting any big competitors and going right back to another little mini feud. Michin returned to the ring for the first time since October to take on Jade Cargill in a non-title bout. Meechin went after Cargill before the bell, and before the ref even had a chance to call for the bell. Shit. So once the match officially got underway, she stayed on Jade and sent her out of the ring with a Hurricanrana from the middle turnbuckle. The champion got a little offense, but Meechin was firmly in control for the first few minutes. It took a fallaway slam on the floor to stall her momentum. While there were some rough spots, this was actually one of Cargill's better matches in recent memory, and a lot of the credit for that goes to Meechin bringing so much energy to the ring. But Cargill was able to hit a power bomb onto the barricade, followed by a choke slam, and then her finisher for the win. Cargill would deliver a direct promo to Rhea Ripley, which brought out the number one contender to the ring and confront her. Now, Jade was, of course, able to leave without a fight to play some mind games. But Rhea Ripley put her in her place by saying, her running off makes her a little bitch. And her bitch line, well, you know how that works. Moving on, the Irresistible Forces, of course, Nia Jax and Lash Legend, take on, of course, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Now, I don't know if I ever had this down. Yeah. The Irresistible Forces versus the Bella Twins for the title. It's something that's building, but it most likely will get there. Now, there is another one I should really add, even though maybe I shouldn't, for the simple reason that it also doesn't matter. Ooh. Shit. Okay, might as well. I'm probably gonna botch her name, but there is a direction here that is Julia versus so that's something to keep an eye on too. But again, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair challenged Nia Jax and Lash Legend for the women's tag team titles. Before the match got started, Nikki and Brie came out to scout the match because they want a shot at the winners. Or they want a shot at the champions, more say. As soon as the ref called for the bell, the champions went after the challengers. Bliss and Flair were able to turn the tables and send them out to the ring. Now, Legend and Jax double-teamed Bliss throughout the break, of course, which led to Flair getting a hot tag once the show was back. Jax pulled Brie into... No, I don't think it was Brie, was it? I thought Jax pulled Nikki. I don't know, I'd have to watch it back to see if it was right. But I feel like it was Nikki. Jax pulled one of the Bella Twins, they're saying Brie, into the path of Flair's kick at ringside. It looked like the challengers were going to get the win, but Nikki caused the match to come to an abrupt end when she attacked Jax. The segment ended with Lash Legend and Jax taking out everyone. A non-finish to a title match, never ideal, especially when you see it coming from a mile away. This is likely to lead to a multi-team match at WrestleMania, which of course was my original prediction for what would WrestleMania match be. It would probably be, originally it was going to be Charlotte Flair and Bliss, who were the tag team title holders at once, right? Taking on the teams of the Bella Twins, Lash Legend, and Nia Jax, and the Kabuki Warriors. But now, it seems like we are into a women's triple threat tag team match for the titles, which is fine, but again, great to see. Sami Zayn had another tense segment with Cody Rhodes backstage. Damian Priest and R-Truth took on Los Garces. Again, another kind of little there moment. R-Truth and Damian Priest had a fun backstage segment with Angel and Berto that led to the two duos having a match. Los Garces tried to get an early advantage, but Priest single-handedly took him out. Truth tagged in, took a lot of offense from the real-life cousins. Angel and Berto brought their A-game to this match and had some fun moments. This was obviously booked to make Truth and Priest look good before challenging for the tag team titles. But what it really did was illustrate how underutilized Los Garces have been on SmackDown and the Motor City Machine Guns. But they've got something going on there. Of course, don't have to say anymore because Priest would score the win with a South of Heaven. So Priest and Truth, they really need to come up with a new name. We're back with some awful Miz TV with, of course, the now thinner Jelly Roll. The Miz proposed teaming up with Jelly Roll, but the singer pointed out how The Miz has a history of stabbing his partners in the back. The A-lister immediately got mad and started insulting him. He tried to take some credit for Jelly Roll getting himself in shape, but Kit Wilson came out and said Jelly Roll is toxic and he's fat-phobic. Jelly Roll ended up punching out The Miz when he was aiming for Wilson. This segment was for Malik and not as funny as WWE thinks it is. Everything about it was forced and predictable. Not only that, The Miz's mic cut out on him, and he had to get it replaced. For some reason, someone calling The Miz by his real life name is hilarious. I did not catch that, but if someone did, that is fucking hilarious because his real name is Mike, okay? So, hey, yo, Mike! Could you imagine just somebody in the crowd, hey, Mike! And him looking and be like, what the fuck you say to me? I like how Jelly Roll also, like, I've seen the clip, but I like how Jelly Roll fucking went with the Kit thing and tried mocking him. It was really funny. Danhausen had also, I don't know if it mentions here, Danhausen threw some shirts into the crowd during one of the breaks. Not only that, but Danhausen also put a curse on The Miz. I don't know if that happens after all of this, but, yeah, Danhausen really does do so. He puts a curse on The Miz. Tiffany Stratton took on Kiana James. Now, that's why I wrote the Julia versus Tiffany Stratton for the title. The next match saw Kiana James take on Tiffany Stratton. Now, both women were unsuccessful in the chamber, so they both were hoping to gain some momentum. As usual, Julia was by James' side. Now, Chelsea Green, as Stratton was actually going to make her way to the ring, Chelsea Green tried to get into her little promo time, and she just wheeled her off, which I believe was a reference back to when McMahon did the same thing to a little boy and says, you're on the ride to the highway, to hell. I think does crash, But anyway, Alpha reeled Chelsea Green to the ring to watch Stratton gaining momentum. Julia prevented her from attacking Tiffy before it could cost James the match. The chaos at ringside allowed Stratton to hit her finisher on James for the win. The ending was a little too, I'm not even going to read that word, but they had some good moments in this match. And it's too bad a good chunk of it happened during a break. Yes, during a fucking break. The break happened so soon in the match. It's starting to become very common now, and it's probably becoming, unwatchable. Vanessa Hutchins and Mark Keir. Ooh, Mark Keir was shown at ringside sitting in the crowd. That's interesting that Mark Keir is sitting at ringside to watch this shit, even though, what, they did the documentary, right, of Mark Keir, didn't they? Yeah, The Rock did the Smashing Machine, which wasn't actually that good, but, yeah. Hey, this is the same Mark Keir, yeah. Yeah, the Mark Keir that got his little Smashing Machine. Yeah. Damn. That is crazy. Anyway, Jacob Fatu took on Trick Williams. The final match of this week's show before we got to the contract signing was Jacob Fatu versus Trick Williams. Williams began by backing Fatu into the corner for a cheap shot, but the Samoan Werewolf immediately fired back with some shots on his own. These are two guys who both work a very physical style, so they were able to put on a funny counter, especially considering their lack of experience without working together. Especially considering their lack of experience working together, because they haven't worked together. McIntyre ended up interfering and attacking Fatu, which cost him the match and gave the win to Williams. After it was over, McIntyre hit a Claymore to add insult to injury. So again, this is why I wrote this tier 2. I would consider this to be fucking possible. Maybe I spelled the word wrong, but again, whatever. It's still possible for that to be the case. Graded up B, and yeah, I'm agreeing with most of all of the gradings on this fucking list here, except for the first match, which I believe it's a C- to me. I'm changing it to a C-, but we get to probably what's one of, if not the best part of the show, and this gets a B+. It gets the plus. The final segment was Cody and Randy signing for the contract. Now, before Aldis brought them out, he booked McIntyre and Fatu for next week. Good. Rhodes thanks Orton for being there for him when he came back to the WWE before signing the contract. Randy signed next, but then he grabbed the microphone and stood in the corner for a moment. The Viper said Rhodes doesn't understand how much he needs to win the WWE title. Rhodes assured him that he is prepared for the most dangerous version of Orton. So, I didn't know Orton said any of that. But Rhodes reassured him. So, it's more of the fact that he signed the contract and then hugged him. So they hugged, and then it all went sour. And guys, you knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I thought it was going to be, either at Mania or after it. Because eventually it happens. We need a heel in this fucking match. We need a heel in this match. It's never going to work, right? Babyface versus babyface works knowing that we're going to have a heel. And this right here sets up our heel. Randy Orton is a heel now. And it's great because he's been a babyface for I don't know how many years now. So Orton, after they hugged, Orton slammed Cody's head into the table and proceeded to beat him down and throw him out of the ring. He was able to bust Rhodes open with his steel steps and continued to destroy him. Now, Jelly Roll tried to talk some sense into Orton, but Orton shoved him to the ground. And Jelly Roll's like, hey, this is me. It's me, remember? SummerSlam. This is a whole different version of Randy Orton that you've never seen before, Jelly Roll. Or you have, but you've been busy doing other shit. So, Randy left the ringside area. As we were waiting for medical personnel to show up, Randy Orton returned moments later with a steel chair and smashed Rhodes' heads against the steps. So Rhodes' head was leaning. He put the big steel steps up. He put his body there. His head was right there. He took the chair, and smashed his head. The two friends signing a contract would usually be a pretty boring segment, but they did a good job hyping their match with Orton's heel turn. This adds some needed conflict to the story, and it makes Rhodes look like a more bigger babyface. Now, if this is going to definitely be, right, a multi-man match, and we're going to have McIntyre and Fatu added to this match, then that means that we already have two heels, McIntyre and Randy, and Jacob Fatu being the babyface in all this. But hey, you know what? Sure, fuck it. If they're going to do that, great. We can set up a good tag team match now, right? But this was good for what it's worth. But again, this show didn't do much either because the final word says otherwise. It was a pretty forgettable episode, and it definitely ended on a high note. So, if there's anything to go out of your way and watch, I will say, is the contract signing. Maybe the Fatu and Trick Williams, maybe for a bit. But, yeah, nothing on this fucking show really gets you, prepared. Or, you could fucking skip it, and you wouldn't have missed anything, you know? Randy Orton's heel turn is going to add some drama to the WWE title feud heading into WrestleMania, which was sorely lacking before the show. As far as in-ring goes, obviously, we know that Fatu and Williams put on a decent match, and so did Las Garzas with Truth and Priest, but everything else in the card was too predictable or fell flat. But ending the show with Orton sitting with the WWE title instantly made this feud with Rhodes more interesting, so there's a plus side to all this. This whole show is going to be graded a C+ overall, because there was some good of it, but not that much. Again, the C grading also makes sense. SmackDown really needs to step up its writing, because last week was Road Dogg's last week writing shit. Now we have a sit-in writer for SmackDown, and this sucks. This episode fucking sucks. Last week's episode was probably a bit better. Last week's episode was better by all means. But this show sucked. I don't know why the fuck. Anyway. What did you guys think of SmackDown? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and turn on those bells so you get notified when I upload or when I, go live. WrestleMania is now. We have already scratched the surface. We've already moved to week 6. We are on to week 5. Of the build up to WrestleMania. So 5 more weeks away until WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen. And it's being pretty good. There's a lot of things going down. Again, like I said, next week, you guys will see, I will be posting up the watch-along parties, everything WrestleMania. So you will see the predictions, the watch-alongs and the review set up for all of that week. Like I said, I usually set it up a month beforehand. That way it's all there. So, look out for that. And I will be back on Monday for the Raw review. And next week to give you what will be SmackDown. Have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Peace.